Good afternoon. Welcome back to another episode of Broker Talk. This is a half-hour show that delivers the unvarnished truth about real estate and the related industries. I'm Larry Lawfer, your host, and I'm joined each week by my good friend Jim Lowenstern of Castles Unlimited. Welcome aboard, Jim.
Nice to be here.
It's good to be.
I'm the unvarnished Jim.
You were definitely a little more unvarnished. um, each week we bring a new guest, and one of the things about real estate and real estate agents is they come in all breed, all sizes, all abilities. Today's guest is absolutely wonderful. She was recently named one of the top agents in Boston by Boston Agent Magazine. She has a training as an interior designer, and she brings that to her senior vice president, I believe, in Compass, Erica Covelle. Welcome, Erica.
Thank you, Larry. It's a pleasure to be here today.
It's a pleasure to have you here today. So, I was fascinated when I began to look at some of the things that you're doing. And then we talked briefly about it earlier this morning. Tell me some of the ways in which you're differentiated than from all the other agents.
So I think the thing that makes us unique, and I guess if we started with me, is my background in interior design. So I went to school for interior design. That's my bachelor's of fine arts. I went to the New England School of Art and Design, and I worked actually as a designer at DeMella Schaefer, and that has parlayed into me becoming an agent. And so that is the most unique factor about me. And then I'd say the second thing that really sets us apart and create some tonality of the business in general is our social media presence. And so those are the two great things that we bring to the table that set us apart from our competition.
So I guess when you're saying, I didn't know this, you must have a team of agents that you work with?
I do. Yep.
Okay.
I have three partners that act as extensions of myself. And then I also have a marketing coordinator. I have a team organizer. I have my husband who runs our finances, and I have a transaction coordinator. So there's lots of different players in our game so that we can do and focus what counts most on our client care, showing properties, writing offers, and getting offers accepted.
So I'm kind of interested about the interior design. Stagers and we agents are supposed to be aware of the new colors, and there's a new color every year. There's and all of that. But I think right now what I am seeing as I go into the new open houses is more neutral. Can you talk about colors in houses and what kind of a difference it makes with the listing?
Sure. So if you know, you can note trends, whether they be fashion or interior design, and you can sort of depict things and when they were styled, right? We all know what that 80s looks like. And so paint colors are actually an indicative trait of how we can sort of depict these things as well, right? So in the early 2000s, people would go and pick a different color for every room, and they would be like this saturated jewel tone. And so since then, we're really trying to lighten and brighten space as much as possible. And space is what sells. So I go in and I try to help our sellers, or if I'm working with the developer, whoever it is, to choose some neutral colors. And typically we're painting the whole thing out white, generally speaking. And then occasionally we've been folding in some accent walls. And if you wanted to know what a trendy color would be, Hail Navy by Benjamin Moore is featured in one of our latest projects that was featured in the Globe at 419 Broadway in Somerville. And that wall came out fabulous. It was painted in a matte finish.
Hail blue.
Hail Navy by
Oh,
Benjamin
Hail
Moore.
Navy. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
It's a
Um,
fabulous color.
I used
HAI or HLE?
HLE.
HAHALE.
Yeah, HALE. Yes.
I usually hear a different thing. I'll bring colors home, and my wife is a painter. The audience knows I have fine arts painter, and I'll bring a color home because I think it's trendy and all of that. And what I usually hear is hell no, not hell navy, but that's a different thing.
So what Benjamin Moore shades of white are you using?
I mean, in truth, I kind of stick with what I know. It's kind of similar to how I practice business. I have attorneys and lenders that I just use regularly. And currently I've been specking white dove. And specifically, I like white dove because it's a little bit on the warmer side and less on the cooler tones.
Right behind me,
Yep, me
all
too.
around. White
All
dove.
around.
Benjamin Moore.
Some of the other trendy things, Larry, while we're on this topic, and so paint is a thing, right? But paint lays a little bit flat. So adding some texture has been a really helpful tool to sort of differentiate space and add some uniqueness to it. So if you notice down here, we have batten board in my hallway.
Sure.
And that adds some depth to the space that paint can't provide. So we've been featuring a lot of these millwork details in our projects most recently. Now, I can't convince sellers to do those typically, but developers and people that understand trends certainly have headed in this direction.
Well, the last year and a half, Erica, the pandemic has kept everybody at home, and I know you have three kids. So, what are you seeing right now, and how are people thinking about their interior spaces that we spend so much time in?
So, your house has all of a sudden become so small that you need to move and you need to catapult off of this incredibly crazy market, only to lead yourself into something equally crazy and spend something like $400,000 over asking to get your offer accepted. Or B, you're going to reinvent the style of your home. And I am actually a byproduct of what has happened in the pandemic. So I have been so sick of looking at my house that this has happened. These new lighting fixtures, the bathroom downstairs is being done, the laundry room was done, the kitchen's being tackled. And so most people are actually looking at this renovation. And it may be a band-aid fix for a minute until the market maybe settles and it makes it a little bit more attainable for people to go out and actually purchase property that's available. Since we're in a deficit, that's a problem. But for the moment, lots of renovations going on.
Yeah. Yes, there is.
What's right behind you? Is that a staircase?
That is a staircase. It's probably a little dangerous
Okay.
that I'm sitting at the top, but you know what? Here's another thing. We live in a we live in a modest sized home, and a lot of people in the city, we don't come with a ton of square footage. And so utilizing every inch of your home is needed, right? So we all need this like work from home space. Well, so I've turned the top of my staircase that had this unnecessary depth that was unusual to a work from home spot. And so I get
It's your
great
Zoom
light.
room.
It is. I mean, look at this lighting. This isn't even a filter. It looks so good.
It
Just
does.
saying.
Zoom room is a hallway at the top of the stairs.
Yeah, it's right. Like, so
Very nice.
it's a nice depth. I niched in a wall-to-wall desk with some shelf with some drawers underneath from IKEA, and it fits like a glove and it works perfectly.
That's awesome, and I've noticed with my clients, and I know Jim works with a number of developers. Um, Having private spaces in your overall space is kind of the new thing, and it's a little bit different than we lived for so long with the open space. Everything needs to be open. Um, uh, I think,
Maybe we'll finally get rid of that terminology. I'm looking for an open floor plan.
yeah, yeah,
My least favorite term.
yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. I just feel like these buzzwords have been overplayed for a long time. Open floor plan, granite and stainless steel. We need a new wave. And so maybe, just maybe, there's been some good that's come out of that, because I do think that there is something to say about having compartmentalization. And I think that we feel that more than ever right now. And so like, even in my house, I mean, I don't really have anywhere to go. Because it's small. So you're still stuck right back in the same situation, like even when you're, beautifying things. But the good news is as you beautify your space, you're adding to your equity. And if you have good direction, which is the most important thing, then when you're ready to sell and you need that bigger house because you need actually the office that you can close the door on, you'll be ready.
That sounds excellent. Listen, let's take a quick break right now, pay some of the bills, and we'll be right back.
When you are searching for a new home, you want to be working with a realtor with years of experience, a professional with intimate knowledge of the communities that you are considering moving to, and someone who really wants to represent you as a buyer in what is probably the largest investment you will ever make in your lifetime. The realtors at Castles Unlimited want to be your choice when you're ready to make your next move. Please visit us at castlesunlimited.com or call us anytime at 800-967-3561. The realtors at Castles Unlimited are here to help your next purchase, lease, or sale of any real estate the easiest decision you've ever made. Start your search anytime.
Oscar Mayer.
And we're back. We were talking about wieners while we were away, and more on that a little bit later. We're talking about space, and with Erica Covelle of Compass. You're a senior VP at Compass, aren't you? Where's your office?
We're located on Newbury Street,
Okay.
but
Right
most days you can find me working from home.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much everyone these days. But one other thing, because I know you have three children and you've been married, and how do you deal with the work-life situation?
Well, Larry, that is a loaded question. That is something I'm still working on. It's not easy. And I don't believe in balance. It's really difficult, especially when you're a high producing agent and your phone doesn't stop ringing. You're completely grateful for those opportunities. At the same time, you have little ones tugging at your leg, and I'm specifically just grateful to have the support that I have from my husband. Without him, I probably wouldn't be able to do most of what I'm accomplishing today.
I think it's a question I ask a lot of very successful female married agents with children. This question, and it is a difficult thing because you're pulled in two very, very specifically different ways, and it does help to have a partner who understands and is helpful. Um,
It's a divide and conquer accomplishment during the day. Everyone has to have and take their part, including the children. Um, but it's a challenge. Really, every day is sort of a new journey, and nothing is fine tuned. It's finding a little bit of harmony in each day is all I could really hope for.
you used a term when we were talking earlier. About when you set up properties and you go through, the first thing that you do is to make sure that you get rid of the clutter. You don't always go in with saying, "Hey, we're going to redo the whole thing," because some people just can't afford it. But everybody has too much crap. So
Truth.
is that your first step?
So it's a difficult conversation to be able to give some good direction to somebody who has lived in a house for the last 30 years and they think that they have great style, and maybe this hasn't changed in 30 years, but that's the reality, right? Is styles are always ever evolving, and we need to be in the latest trends in order to really create that image that drives the sale. And so I delicately approach these things by entering somebody's home to say, hey, listen, you have a wonderful home, right? There's no doubt about that. But here are some of the things that I think that could help you to make more money off your house if we were to neutralize it. And we can neutralize things a few different ways. Number one, clutter eats equity. So the more that you can pare down, you think it's sort of like the preface to you actually making this move in general. So you're going to have to pack and purge anyways. And in fact, our team sends a small pack of moving boxes to encourage our sellers after they signed with us to start that process, right? And so, and then, the other things that we ask them to do, again, they're suggestions, they're not demands, because what we're asking for is things that we know on the back end are going to help them to make money. So what's beneficial about being an agent for the last 15 years and working on the buy and the sell side is that I know what buyers are looking for, and I know where to spend money and how it's going to make you money. So I'm not going to be the agent that comes in here and tells you to put a new roof on your house, because we know that that's not going to make them any money. It's a stabilizer. But I am not going to ask you to throw a coat of white paint on your walls, because if it's painted lipstick red, it's probably not going to float very well.
Lipstick red? Yeah, which room would you put that in?
None. I'd say if it was painted lipstick red, I'm going to tell you to change it into painted white.
Right, right. Well, culturally, there are cultures that enjoy brighter and more vivid colors. But anytime you have something that's not neutral, then you limit the number of people who could come in and look at it, who would be attracted to it from the MLS or your promotional materials.
Well, this is a marketing game, right? So, that's the forefront of what we're looking to do. It's to attract every potential buyer through the door. And the only way to really do that is to neutralize the playing field as much as possible.
Hmm. So, Jim, when you're
So
working,
Erica,
go ahead.
let me just ask Eric a question. So when people look back 30 years from now and they're looking at what we're doing right now, what are the things that how do you imagine, what are they going to object to?
Stainless steel and granite countertops.
Okay, well, let's break it down. How should the appliances look? You want them all to have the cabinet front?
So currently we've been specifying panel ready, and that actually is going back to a previous style. You would have seen that more in like the early 90s when we were doing that to mask the appliances. The appliances shouldn't be the thing that stands out the most. They're not the feature presentation of the kitchen. What your feature presentation should really be the entirety of the space, right? So masking your appliances and sort of hiding them, not hiding them, but having them flow better with the rest of the space is helpful. But styles change. There was a reason why stainless steel came in, because somebody said, hey, I bought this fridge for $4,000. I want it to stand out. So it's just really, it's subjective opinion, and that's what most design is.
Well, I think one of the problems that you have at some price range, I just sold a 10,000 square foot house. I don't know, it was a big house.
That's huge.
And maybe it was a little less, maybe it was a little over 8,000. It was still a big house. So the buyer is going in and really starting to pay attention to what he bought finally. And he looks at the paneled Sub-Zero refrigerator, and he turns to his buyer's agent and he says, where do I get ice? So he's looking around inside, and I don't even know. I think you have to buy a separate ice maker for that $10,000 refrigerator that's paneled. Whereas you can get a very nice, $2,000 stainless refrigerator that has ice and water right in the front door. So I just know that sometimes, all the money in the world, it doesn't get you ice.
It's true. I mean, there's a number of things that there's a number of other applications, right? That kind of come, like let's say you go to Starbucks and they give you an iced coffee and you're putting in the cream and sugar. I'm not sure if, so you're paying a premium for that, but you still have to do the work. And I think kind of the same thing, like you pay a premium for a Sub-Zero refrigerator, and then you still have to find out a way to make ice.
And then on top of it, you're not going to put a panel on top of that under the cabinet, under the counter microwave, right?
No, you can't do that. Well, they haven't come up with that yet. But so where we bury that microwave, because I hate it above the stove. That's another thing I don't really like. But
well, that doesn't work.
Yeah,
that's why you hate it, because it leads you to think that there's a vent there, but it doesn't actually suck air.
Right. Yeah. So it's not a good choice all around.
No.
But we've been hiding them in the island facing the inner of the kitchen. So.
Of course.
But I'll tell you something else. Now, this brings up a good point of what I think is not going to float later. And speaking of open floor plans.
Well, we haven't, let's not go past the countertop. What do you like for countertops if you don't like granite?
So countertops, I really actually like marble, and specifically lately, I've been specifying a dolomite in this super white finish, and it's beautiful. It's polished. It's got fluidity behind it. It's really special looking. And unlike quartz, which is like a man-made printed material, you could have quartzite, which is real, but then you have quartz, which is we are finding a lot of right now, which I think is also going to start to date itself. Um, Quartz is supposed to be stain, chip, and scratch resistant. None of those things are true. I've seen
It's
all
not
three of
stain
them.
resistant. You can sand it out. I know that.
Yeah. So what I don't like about that is that it's man-made, and that the fluidity of what that pattern is repetitive, and it doesn't feel authentic. So it's
Right.
hard to love it. Although we use it, because it's affordable. I still just think
So
I
is
think
marble
marble.
making, I would say, not a comeback, but is it being more acceptable now that there's treatments that protect it? So, like lifetime stain resistant treatments.
So there's a new material on the market, and it's a porcelain slab, and it's a really thin material, and it's porcelain. And that actually is probably the best material that you could use for the countertops. Although most guys that install countertops are reluctant to use the material because it's difficult to work with. So porcelain has some incredible patterns that are really they're pretty awesome.
Beautiful.
Pricey stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, speaking about hot dogs like we were before, let's take a moment for
You said wieners. I remember what you said.
well, that's only because it's welcome here for a moment of the savage wiener.
Smells so good.
And we're back. Did that make you hungry? Are we all planning to grill some hot dogs, some wieners, savage wieners? No? It's a little cold out here in Boston today. It's in the 40s. So tomorrow it'll be in the 80s, perhaps.
Really?
No.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I'm yeah, that's possible. What would you suggest to an agent coming in who has children, maybe doesn't have interior design skills, but what are some of the things that you tell newer agents?
Get ready. It's the ride of your life. Always be
Buckle up.
selling. Yeah. Communication is key. You need to always be looking for opportunity. It isn't just going to come to you. You need to be boots in the ground, and you have to have your hands in everything. And for the people that think that, you're just spoon fed these things, this has been 15 years of working to get me to the point that I am now. I think that some people think that you come in and it's a quick paycheck. It is a long ride, a lot of conversations, and developing a lot of rapport. I'd say the one thing I could say to new agents is that when I first got into the industry, I thought other agents were my competition. And certainly that's the truth. But your agents are your biggest asset, and being friends with those people means everything. It is how I am getting in front of people who have 25 offers deep, because I've developed a rapport. They know, like, and trust me. And you're 80% more likely to do a deal with somebody you know, like, and trust. So
That is a critical point. Critical point is that we're in a collaborative business. It's called co-broke, and so you want to know what that other agent thinks, or they know what their client wants. So you have to talk to them about it. Being a jerk doesn't get you anywhere.
no one
And
likes a jerk.
yeah, you just won't do business with them. And there are some agents that get all upset about things, and when they come to me with those, like, what do you think? And maybe something was done wrong. My answer is, do you want to be right, or do you want to get this deal done? Because some people just want to be right. Well, they should have done it this way. So who cares? You're moving forward. It doesn't make
Right.
any difference. There's 100 stories, thousands of stories just like that.
Well,
Uh,
you can be a deal maker or you can be a deal breaker,
eh,
and I choose to be the deal maker.
yeah, yeah. Um, Awkward conversations. That is another. We talked about that earlier, but I think that's another skill that every agent has to develop, because you are going to have the money conversation. People are going to try and push on you on your commission, but going into somebody's house and say that house is just so cluttered that you have to tell them 70% that you have in here has to go. You have to be able to have awkward conversations with people and get to a solution, combined solution. How do you do that?
Experience has played a big hand in this, because confidence is key when you're having these conversations, right? So through confidence, you can articulate good direction in a non-combative way, right? Where you're not telling them that they don't have great style or that their house is completely dated, but you're saying, hey, listen, you have a really great space here, like we said earlier. Here's some things that in today's market really help to uplift and elevate your presence. And these are the things that I think you should do, but you're not obligated to do. And so coming from a very, like, safe place for them without demanding um, or discouraging them, it's difficult. It's like our entire existence in this position. You're walking a fine line whatever way you slice and dice it, and it's a difficult conversation to have, but through repetitive conversations, it's and gaining that confidence, it's really the best way to approach it.
And honestly and authentically, not like
Right.
it's like, I know what would work. You have to tell me what you can do. Um,
Right.
and somewhere there's a negotiation on that. Some people do love their uh, decor, even though it's dated. I love it when you go in and you say, "Well, I just did this." "Oh, really? When did you do it?" And they'll sit and think, "Well, 10 years."
1985.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that turntable that you just put in, that's an old technology.
Yeah. Well, I work with a lot of elderly clients as well. I am a preferred agent for Brooksby Village. And so those actually give you the best experience, because those are the ones that you have to be the most delicate with, right? And so, a lot of times we don't do anything for them because we're just going to sell it as is.
Yeah.
But sometimes we can get them to Brooksby and we could do some things, and that would really help them, because they've owned this house for the last 50 years and it's got shag carpet. But guess what? Underneath the shag carpet, there's hardwood floors. And where do you find money? On the floor. So we take up the shag carpet, and they're none the wiser because they're over in Brooksby, and we spent maybe $1,500 to do it. We shined them up and we got them extra money in their pocket. Hey, at the end of the day, if you can spend a little bit of money to make a lot.
To
And you
make
can
more.
sell the shag rug to the Smithsonian, probably.
Exactly. I mean, they could find some things in it, actually.
I had a buyer once who got a better price on the house because it had shag carpet. They were negotiating. And when they called me back 3 years later to sell it, the shag rug was still there.
Oh my goodness.
Yikes.
And then the new buyer negotiated to have the shed rug removed before the closing. And boy, were they shocked to see oak floors that had never been walked on. They had
Oh,
been always covered with shag carpet. Perfect
Because
condition.
that's a
just
shaggy
like,
dream.
Oh my God.
well, just like when we talk about trends in the 80s, it was a thing to have carpet. You had money if you had carpet, right? And then you protected those hardwood floors, and they belonged in the Smithsonian afterwards because they've been so well, protected for all those years. Um, and the next buyer gets to catapult off of that. I mean, helping buyers to find money in those listings, when properties have never been worth more than they are today. Hey, listen, you can buy this house. Give me
I don't think
$1,500.
we have those opportunities anymore. Things
Sometimes.
are being sold before people can even step inside.
I know.
Yeah, it is a crazy. We're going to call these, when we're past this, the good old days. But the buyer's agents are going to call it hell. It
I mean,
depends on
it's
which side you're
Well,
on.
the people that came into the market in the last few years are going to be shocked.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean? Oh, I mean, I had a broker who was negotiating, as a buyer broker should, to bring the price down. But she was telling me, well, obviously it's not worth what you're asking because it hasn't sold yet. Well, we sold it for $150,000 more. It was 2, 3 weeks later, and I explained to her, I said, just because it doesn't sell the first week doesn't mean the price is wrong. This means the right buyer hasn't walked in yet.
well, and
Kind of silly.
especially for the new agents that are in this market that have been in this sort of tailspin of over asking in under a week, and it feels like it's a very easy job. When you're carrying a listing for longer than a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or even a couple of months, like I had something in the Back Bay that sat in the market for 150 days. These agents aren't going to be primed to even know how to have that talk about an awkward conversation. Week after week, you have to say, we're doing everything that we can. The marketing is on point. If the market is speaking to us and it hasn't sold yet, then it's the price that we need to tackle. And so those are some awkward conversations that you have to have. And I can't wait for some of these newer agents to have to experience some of that,
But
because
that's my point is, but that's not the conversation. I never dropped the price on that listing. It didn't sell for, hold on, I gotta, went by. It didn't sell for exactly the asking price, but I didn't have to drop the price. I just had to wait for, I don't know, maybe the spring market or
The
other
right person to see
properties
it.
to be sold.
Yeah.
And people, I mean, it's all psychology. Oh my God, I'm going to miss out. There's not going to be any house at all. And then there's the buyer that really needs something, and they pay close to what the seller is willing to accept. And that's probably what happened with your listing that was on the market for 150 days.
well,
It's
I
sold
mean,
by now, right? Or is it
so
still
actually
on
we did
the
just get
market?
it under agreement. I had my appraisal today, and God willing
There you go.
that pulls through. But we had one price reduction, and then we held firm at our price, right? And most people were saying, because I'm you start to ask everybody in their money, well, what else can I do here? I'm talking to my managers, I'm talking to other Boston agents. What is can you give me any constructive advice? I mean, I know what to do, but in these times, you need other agents to have conversations with. And we didn't drop the price. And
That's why
finally, we got the
Larry and
right.
I are here.
Yeah. And we didn't drop the price. In fact, I got above what people were suggesting for price reductions, which is great.
Yeah.
You got to hold strong to a certain
Patience.
extent. Patience is a virtue.
That whole pricing thing is going to be another show that we're going to do again, but it's both an art and a science. The science part is the comps, and you look at that. The art part is what's going on in this neighborhood right now. What can I do with this property versus the other four that are similar in size and design to mine? How am I going to make mine better in the market space?
And
Tom
it's through
Petty
those.
said it best. Waiting is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Bitcoin was at 20,000 and it went down to 5 and people were panicking. Now where is it? 50, 55? Well,
Do you have any?
Exactly. We did a Bitcoin show a couple of weeks ago. because people are now buying and selling properties with Bitcoin.
I know.
So, you
Today
know,
it's Ethereum. Yesterday was Dogecoin. Tomorrow will be something else. We have Castle's coin coming up in the future. It's actually, you're laughing, Larry. I already drafted the white paper on it. So
okay.
I've got Castle's blockchain. I've got all the crazy ones.
I went in early, so let me know. Anyway,
Okay.
we're going to have to wait for that, and we're going to have to wait for our next show. But this show has been wonderful, Erica. It's been so great to have you with us. Thank you so much. Congratulations on all that you're doing.
Thank you. It was wonderful meeting you guys, and thanks for having me on. I hope
Very
to come
good.
back
Very
someday.
good show, Erica.
Yeah,
Be
absolutely.
careful when you turn around. There's a staircase by.
I know.
Wow.